Three, two, from high atop the world headquarters of Southeastern Fly. This is the Southeastern Fly podcast. Thanks for joining us on this episode. Feel free to share this with your friends and your fishing partners. Also, you can watch us these episodes on YouTube. So it doesn't matter where you watch. Please just leave a like or click the follow button. So let's talk about maps today. Uh, if you played neighborhood sports when you were young, you learned about maps. And the way you did that, if you played football, soccer, basketball, or in our case, even hockey, but nobody was really good enough in hockey to make the play work out because the puck was always going somewhere else. But anyway, neighborhood sports. If you remember, usually you would draw a play, and usually they were drawn in the dirt or in sometimes cases the snow. If you lived where we did, after everybody on the team understood their assignment, someone would kick some dirt over the map or wipe it away with their hands, so the opposing team couldn't get a look at it. And then you were ready, and then you ran that play. As you grow up and you grow older, you discover pirate maps, which are able to take you places you never thought you'd go in your mind anyway. Globes that took us all around the world while we were in school. Back in the day, all the classrooms had a globe, and you could go anywhere you wanted to on that globe. Paper maps took us on vacation, took us exploring the state we lived in and other states. As we grew older, hopefully someone taught you how to use a map to find blue lines for fishing. I've got a friend that's got a gazetteer map book, and I looked through it one day, and we talked about all the states that he's fished in and they visited. The parts of the best that I wanted to know more about and understand. And I was interested in the map and all the highlighted routes that he had taken or they had taken, but I was also interested in pig trails and that sort of thing that he had gone on. And the roads get smaller, and I was really interested in them, and they always seem to end up by water. But uh, it was just more interesting to read in the margins things that he had written down or that they had written down as a family. And sometimes maps in that case helped him tell the stories of their adventures, and that's something that a GPS just can't really do for you. GPSs are somewhat boring, I know, but they also have their place, and usually it's for getting to a certain point in your trip. But sticking with maps, let's talk about the best fishing maps. Someone draws you a fishing map, you have likely earned their trust in a big way. You need to keep that spot to yourself too. Don't pass that map around. If you're gonna take others to that spot, get permission from the person that drew you that map, using specific names of people that you're going to take, just in case the person drawing that map doesn't really approve of all your friends. Talk through the criteria and the boundaries that are set for receiving this map. Do all this before the drawer of that map finishes up drawing it. That way, there's no questions. Uh, like I said, remember, somehow you've earned their trust, so don't screw it up. The best fishing maps are drawn. The best I've had are really on a napkin, so they shouldn't be laying around. It's kind of like a good pirate map. They should be eaten after carefully memorizing it and should never be spoken of again. I'm kidding. You don't have to eat them, but let's face it, that's probably the best way to keep a secret nowadays. Unless you want to let the cat out of the bag. If you want to let the cat out of the bag, just leave it laying around, and you'll certainly be fishing beside a bunch of people. Some of the best fishing spots on these maps have names, and usually it's a name of certain importance, of some kind of history or mystery. And what I've found over the years, there's a lot of good fishing spots have multiple names, and those names depend on the personality of the person or the person's naming them. Names for pools, names for runs, canyons, whole sections of rivers. They're not necessarily on the map that you might get at a welcome center of the state you're entering to fish either. So they're a little more specific than that. So some of the names that I've heard and know of and have fished, basically all of these, are names like the Crusher Pool. That's definitely a carefully hidden little gem in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. And okay, it's not carefully hidden at all. Everybody knows about it, but it's fun to fish. I've got a, I was fishing up there one time with David Knapp, and we just happened to end up there at on the same day fishing. There was snow all over the ground. It was kind of a little adventure, but I made my way all the way around, went way downstream, came back up. He was sitting at the pullover, and I started casting. I had a great angle, and a van drove up. A kid jumped out and started throwing snowballs in the water. He was must have been an only child because he was the only one that got out. It was cold, but anyway, that was my story from the Crusher Pool. On some local rivers, there's the Dragon's Tooth, the Dragon's Back, and the Crossover. All three of these sections of the river are actually the same place. Like I said, it depends on who it is that's naming the section of river or wherever you're talking about. There's holy water because it fishes well, and you have to sneak past the church to get there. There's the offering plate. It's a shallow, round little like pool, kind of within holy water. It's about 40 foot wide, and you can cast up at the top of it with a dry fly and let it go in to the offering plate. And a lot of times the fish, you won't see them laying on the bottom, but you'll see them come off the bottom and just crush your fly. We've had some really good days there. There's the hog trough. It's also in holy water. And it's probably about a 10 foot run. I would say it's probably about 10 foot deep. It's about 40 foot wide, and it holds some nice fish, and it's fun to dredge it up. And then there's the hog hole. That's 538 miles from holy water, and that's according to a map. There's the meat locker, and that's not necessarily because of the fish, but it's really because the sun only hits the water for about 30 minutes a day during the winter. And if you get in there, you know it's going to be cold. The Rod and Gun Club. The Rod and Gun Club. Huh. Yeah. So the question there is, do we need to bring our own gun? And the answer is not usually. There's the bar, there's Denny's, there's the lunch spot. Then down the river, there's Howard's lunch spot. Then there's another one called Tiger Cage Road. I haven't fished here before, but I just threw it in there because Susan and I were talking about it on one of the previous podcasts. And as far as I know, there's not any tigers even close. There's the Tennessee Rock, and that's a secret spot that has produced for about 20 years. I've told one person of it, and apparently they have kept that a secret because I've never heard of it again. There's the Calf Pool, because a calf died on the bank there next to the pool, next to the river. Then there's Billy Goat Hill, which is there's a section of river right below it, and we named it there. It was named that because somebody dumped a goat carcass there, and needless to say, it was tough to fish for a while because of the smell. There's names on maps of who knows what and who knows where. So names on maps are important. And naming a section of the river, a pool, a run, anything like that's also very important. You need to have some style points there. One of the reasons why I got on fishing maps is because right now I'm looking at the Gulf. For you folks who don't know exactly what I'm talking about, it's the Gulf of Mexico or LA, i.e. Lower Alabama, or the Redneck Riviera. And yeah, we're taking a trip to the Salt right now, planning a trip to the Salt. We're not taking it right now, but we're planning it. We're in the initial stages of planning as a group, and we'll call this an expedition to the Salt. I'm sure we'll take our own lost shaker with us and some other good music too. Anyway, dad joke for you. I started looking at all these promising, I mean, really nice shoals and inlets and passes and channels and bars and islands. Some of them already have names. Some of the bays have names, but yeah, we'll likely add our own, knowing us as a group. We'll do that during the trip for sure, and absolutely have to do it after the trip, which is where a lot of the times the best names come from. So I'm looking at Google Earth for some intel, and somehow I ended up in, of all places, Trinidad. So we'll probably need to take some steel drums or a set of pans, not the cooking kind. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Our group has a kind of a way that we make our plans. We make our plans We'll change the dates several times. Someone will likely be in, and then they'll be out, and then they'll be back in. We'll talk about, decide on rods, which we'll all take the same old rods that we always take. We'll talk about leaders, tie the same old leaders we always tie. We'll talk about boats, which boats we need. We'll decide on the best ones for the salt. We'll talk through camper versus houses versus motels. We'll tie some flies we won't use. We'll have a meeting, likely with some adult beverages and some green tea. We'll look at Google Earth some more. This will likely result in our plans completely falling apart. Somehow it'll get back together again. We'll get out that gazetteer. We'll put our heads together. We'll come up with a play. Everyone's going to understand the assignment. This team will be ready, and we'll run that play. Feel free to share this with your friends and your fishing partners. Remember, you can watch these episodes on YouTube if you so desire. So subscribe at Southeastern Fly on YouTube or wherever you listen to consume podcasts. Leave a like, click the follow. You just listened to Fishing Maps on Southeastern Fly. See you next time.